This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership Program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/indigenous-business-leadership.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Bangarra Bales.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman and Monash University Partnership Series. This is episode 2 and my guest is Josh Duke. This yarn was recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri peoples, and you'll find that I'll do my acknowledgement in just a moment. Josh Duke is from Deloitte. He is a chartered accountant, a very proud Dunghutti man that is passionate about financial literacy and making sure that our mob across this country have the skills, knowledge and capability to participate either in business, to sit on boards, or just to support their families, young ones growing up understanding, money, budgets, just to name a few. Josh is very young, you'll find in a moment, and has so much experience, sits on a few different boards, and is one of about 50 Indigenous chartered accountants in Australia. Josh Duke was a guest presenter in the Masters of Indigenous Business Leadership Program, which we referred to as MOIBL, and talked all things finance. I'm not going to give too much more away. I hope you enjoy this yarn. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Black Magic Woman podcast. This is a partnership with Monash Business School, and we're going to talk about the Masters of Indigenous Business Leadership, which is an MBA program that I'm actually part of. I've got a few modules left or blocks, and then I'll be graduating with my MBA. I just want to acknowledge the Wurundjeri peoples who are part of the Kulin Nations here in Melbourne, aka NAM. And I want to pay my respects to their elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Bangarra Bales, and today on this show we have a special guest. This is Joshua Duke, and thank you so much for actually coming to the beautiful lands of the Wurundjeri peoples. Without further ado, with all my guests on the show, I'm going to ask you, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners? And also now we've got viewers, so thank you so much for people now on YouTube that are following us and have subscribed to our channel. If you haven't, you need to get over to YouTube and subscribe. So your name, your mob, and a little bit about where you grew up.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. And I really would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people. It is a freezing cold morning here in Melbourne today. So, but no, very grateful for the opportunity to have a chat. So thank you and Monash University for inviting me along. My name's Joshua Duke. I'm a very proud Dunghutti man from Kempsey, New South Wales originally. I spent a bit of time there growing up, and then we went down to the south coast to Narooma, and then up to Canberra. But spent a lot of time between.
What took you to Canberra? I'm curious. When any mob end up in Canberra, I'm like, so how did you get to Canberra? Was your parents in the public service?
It was 100%. That was it. Mum and dad sort of split up, and which for me is probably why I'm here today, and I'm not using this cunning for other things.
Yep.
But public service, that was it. So, and then dad moved up to Moree. So I hated that drive as a kid, and it was, I never understood it, but.
I actually did a drive to Moree as a kid too.
Yeah.
My little sister stayed with an auntie in Moree, and we drove up from Redfern to Moree. When we moved to Brisbane, we were driving to Brisbane to Moree. We did a few Christmases in Moree.
Love the hot
We're probably there at the same time.
I'd say so, the last 15, 20 years, Yeah.
Wow. So Moree, what else? Then moved?
I've in the last little while moved up to Sydney for Bangarra.
And have you got brothers and sisters before we get to Bangarra?
Yeah, I've got one little brother who's taller than me. He's not little at all, but and always feels a very pointed question when people ask how old he is, because I think he's 28. it's touch and go, so it's just him and I.
All right. So you end up in Sydney. Tell me about Bangarra.
Oh, I've adored them for as long as I've adored anything.
Yeah.
And very grateful to get the tap on the shoulder to join their board in October last year. So it's been a bit over a year now. So
wow,
I've loved every minute of it.
Well, we need to go right back to the start then. Before even joining the board of Bangarra, I haven't had anyone on my show yet that's on the board of Bangarra, so this is a first. How did you end up? Well, you would have went to university, so you finished high school.
Yep.
Where did you go to high school?
McKillop Catholic College in Tuggeranong, Canberra. And I think I fell into accounting at university. Mum was an accountant. And I thought, if she can raise my brother and I as a single mother, it's a pretty safe job. And so whether it was consciously or unconsciously, I sort of followed her. And then from there, I fell into my first job, which was in corporate restructuring. Super interesting. Bit of a nasty business, going around and liquidating folks, and
that was your first experience.
Yeah, that was.
Wow.
And then from there, it was if you wanted to be a liquidator and things, you had to do your chartered accountancy. So went and did that, and then I sort of I think it was maybe 4.5 years into that career, and I thought, well, I might try something a bit more positive, and I did. So I've moved across to Deloitte's consulting team. And I haven't really looked back since then. And then probably the only bit of study I've done since then was the Australian Institute of Company Directors.
Yeah, which we were talking about just before.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
How big that course is in terms of the commitment to actually do the course, because I didn't graduate. So, I can at least have MAICD on, my name, which is I'm a member. Being a graduate, there's an exam.
Yeah.
So you're a qualified accountant.
Yes.
Okay, and you've done the company director's course, because I was like, man, I'm going to struggle with the exam. So I already hit you up. I was like, I need a mentor.
No,
and there's no shame in hitting up people that have actually got some knowledge and background and some kind of, skin in the game. And we're going to talk about mentors in a moment. Doing that course, graduating from university, working with a big corporate like Deloitte, I would say that, I don't think I've met another black fella that's got the same, very similar, kind of background to you. Is there many black fellas in this country, Australia, that are qualified accountants? And how do we find them? Because every board needs an accountant, and every executive leadership team needs somebody that's, good with numbers, and that's not me.
I love that you brought that up. But no, there's not that many of us. I'd say between chartered accountants and CPA, there'd be less than 100.
So tell me the difference, chartered accountants and CPA.
So through chartered accountants, you get a graduate diploma in chartered accounting, whereas CPA, you get, I believe, you become a member of their membership body, which is a bit different.
Okay.
It was one of those things growing up. My partners were like, you have to do it because we're the best and things. And I never really understood it, but
you got it.
I did it.
So how many more do you reckon in the country?
Yeah, no, I'd say there's less than 100 between both. So I, in terms of chartered accountants, I've have the sort of unequivocal privilege and pleasure of being their inaugural and current chairperson for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Committee.
Yeah.
So we're
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. They're a small committee, but we're a good one. So
another thing that you do in your spare time.
Yeah,
with all the spare time that you've got.
Oh, everyone does that in the community. But,
of course.
So there's not many of us, but we're looking to change that.
And how can we change that? Is my next question.
Well, I think it's one of those things you can't be what you can't see, right? So for me, universities have a leading role to play in that. And there's some great examples of some universities doing some wonderful things around the country in that regard. I understand that we are here on behalf of Monash, so shout out to Monash.
Right. Big shout out to Monash. But also, I want to just make this really clear that we're trying to achieve the same outcomes when, universities are out there doing their recruitment, or organisations are out there headhunting for First Nation staff because they've got a RAP and they need to hit these targets. Whether this bank gets the job or that banks or this university or not, we need organisations and institutions to start kind of working collaboratively, not kind of working in silos. So what organisations are doing well, or what institutions or universities are doing well?
Charles Darwin University.
Yeah.
They've always had a pre-law program, which is essentially you do this month-long program, and then that's sort of your gateway into university.
Yeah.
But they've launched a pre-accounting program about 3 years ago, So I've been supporting that in some capacity over the last few years.
Yeah.
And they've last year they've just launched their pre-business program as well.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. Like, so the students that come in, they do their month, they get I think it's certificate 3 or 4 in accounting, but then they can get into university and sort of follow that path.
And it gives them an opportunity to actually see what university is like, what their subjects are like, what are the people like, lecturers like, the school, the faculties. A lot of these spaces are foreign spaces to a lot of our mob. And also for non-Indigenous people that are the first in their families, I know that they also share the same kind of experiences, but they're also part of the majority, right? They're part of the mainstream or the dominant culture. So they don't exactly have those other experiences of feeling kind of isolated in these spaces. And then again, in accounting, where there'd be fewer black faces in those classrooms as well. So I guess I'm going to ask you a question. How did you get through university? Was it tough? Was it challenging?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of black fellows that are the same in that. I think for me, like where mentors and things you touched on earlier is important. It's not necessarily about helping someone with a tax reconciliation, because I probably couldn't do it anyway, to be honest, at the moment. But it's more about just showing up and supporting, just to say, like, I understand what you're going through because I've gone through it. Mm-hmm. So even like with mum and stuff, it's like, I'll be like, oh, the CAN things are hard. Just go, oh, you keep going. It's like, it's like it's not, you don't get it, sort of thing. But I was, obviously love her, and I owe everything I've got to her and my grandma. But so it was a bit tough. I mean, it was a bit, not a lot of support. But
so, who was your mentors then? Were there mentors in your early days that you can remember that have had an impact on your life and career?
Not through university.
Not through university.
So I was.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things. I went and just did it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there a lot. I was a bricklayer. I did the milk run because I was like, well, I can make money from 3 a.m. till 6 a.m. if I get up. And
that is commitment.
Oh, I wanted to travel the world, and it's bloody expensive. So worked pretty hard. Through uni. And it was always a funny thing when the results were released. It was like, maybe I'm the guy that answers the quiz, the best on site, and I don't know, but
so you smashed it in your exams and that.
Got through it in one piece. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I smashed it, but
okay.
But yeah. So I think mentors and things have sort of come a bit later in life.
Can we talk about some of those mentors? Is there anyone in particular that kind of stands out?
Yeah, I mean, in my very early career, there's a gorgeous man, Lachlan Abbott. He did a lot for me, whether he knew it or not. And again, it's just being in your corner, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily like no one can sit the exam for you or be there, but it's just about knowing that person's batting for you, I guess. Yeah. And similarly, Joe Hedger back in the day is my now boss.
Big shout out to you, Joe.
Big shout out. He was incredible. So, and then, but things have gone crazy, I guess, for me lately. So, and I've got no idea what I'm doing, right?
You're going to tell me about how crazy your life is. And I know that you do. You mentioned Bangarra, right? You sit on the board. What's your role there at Bangarra? On the board?
Yeah, on the board, yeah. So I'm a member of the Audit, Finance and Risk Committee as well, which is very good.
Wow. Yeah. Now, in terms of mob on boards, yes, I'm on a few boards. I don't see many mob on boards. What about you? What do you think about this in terms of our mob participating at that level? We're not. You're not going crazy. Very far few in between, right?
No, I mean that's probably a bit brash, but I think particularly if you look at listed boards, last I saw there's about 2 folks that were
and 2 females.
No,
on the ASX listed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess the last time I looked, it was Katina Law. Shout out Katina.
Yes.
And Ben White over at Rio.
Okay, no, there's a third one then.
I did see that recently.
Just recently. So we've got 3 First Nations people sitting on the ASX 200
But
boards.
I think Katina's stepping down from her role. So we're back to 2.
Okay.
And if you think of 100 companies in the top 100 times how many folks sit on those boards,
and we've got 2.
It's not good enough. Yeah.
Well, how do we change that then in terms of for our mob to see the opportunity and the value to participate at that level?
For me, folks say there's no silver bullet to things. There definitely is, in my view, and it's 100% education. you may have doors open for you, because of your heritage and things, but gosh, you don't stay in that house long if you don't have those qualifications and you don't know how to...
business acumen.
Well, that's right, commercial acumen to positively contribute to it. And importantly, you're personally liable for the stuff anyway. Like, I remember my first board, Ausdance ACT, I had a mate call me and said, we're looking at running a pretty big loss this year. Would you like to join the board? I said, well, tentative no. Like, that sounds like a bit of a hospital pass. Like, why would I want to do that?
Because you're a deadly black fella.
I was like, correct, but no, anyway, we did, and we sort
of... You did? You joined the board?
Yeah, we did, and I adored it. And, made no friends in the first little while as we were trying to turn things around. And then, that next year it made a bit of a profit and things, which is good. More money because more mission. So,
We're talking about more money, I'm in business. I feel that being in business has given me the privilege. It feels like it's a privilege to give back to community. I feel privileged that I'm in a position to be able to support our mob, whether it's a funeral, whether it's a football team, whether it's a young kid from a remote community that needs to get to state championships down in Canberra and does not have the airfares, accommodation, mum can't come or dad can't come. I find a lot of people that I connect with that black card, it's not that we can support everybody, but I can if I want to. We can choose to support people by donations and sponsorship, right? In terms of making money, black fellas don't talk about money.
No.
Like we...
No.
And we need to, start getting comfortable with talking about money, but also just talking about creating intergenerational wealth.
Thank you.
For our mob.
Yes.
And this is what you do every day, right? You're an accountant. You're working in a big organisation like Deloitte. How do we get our mob to start thinking about money in a positive way, or to have this kind of, a better relationship with money?
Well, I think you're spot on. It is a relationship with money, but I think for me, there's a few things. It's education again. So folks need to know that it's a thing, and we can be leaders and we can be in control of our own money and our own futures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just knowing your worth is something that kills me across the board. It's like, and it's coming from, I'd love to see a bit more of a strength-based approach to business in terms of, instead of happy to be here to I deserve to be here and this is actually what I bring. This is a tangible outcome.
Love it, yeah.
I know, I help or work with a lot of small black business around the country, which I absolutely adore, but it's that ongoing conversation of there's no shame in making money. At all. Like, if you want to buy a jet ski, do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Yes. But I think, there's certainly no shame in it.
What about partnerships and working? So you're working with Aboriginal businesses, right, around the country, and you love doing that. Is that, I guess, through the work that you're doing at Deloitte, you get to work with Aboriginal businesses?
Yeah, well, it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
As a black accountant, there's not very many of us. So
I
do get calls from time to time for help and things. And I'd like, for me, it doesn't cost me anything. And I look back at my family and I've been given an opportunity that none of them, on dad's side anyway, that like a lot of cousins, things, that'll never be afforded the same thing. So I feel that if I'm not giving back 100%, I wouldn't feel very comfortable with the person I'm looking at in the mirror. And
that again, right? A lot of non-Indigenous Australians and people, non-Indigenous people in general, whether you're Australian or not Australian, wouldn't understand the pressures that we have. We put this extra pressure on ourselves, right? Our older people, our mobs, our parents, our grandparents weren't afforded the same opportunities as us. And we can't waste the opportunities that we have today, or waste. It's not that we're not wasting them, but not to take it for granted.
No.
And there's a sense of letting people down as well.
Yeah, and I think for me, I need to get better at saying no, which is why I burn out from time to time. But I think I like that. Like we were standing on the shoulders of incredible people, and I think it's important for us to take that flame and keep it burning and sort of run pretty fast and as fast as we can. And but I think we need more people to help us along that journey. You talk about allies and things, and for the short term to medium term, definitely, because we just don't have the folks out there currently doing it.
So we need more non-Indigenous people to be asking the questions.
Yeah.
Do we have any Indigenous people in our executive?
100%.
For instance, in organisations,
Yeah.
not just big corporates. We're talking about NGOs, government, institutions, universities, the private sector, corporate sector.
Oh, absolutely. But we think about RAPs, right? So there's no legislative requirement for you to have a RAP as an organisation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no point in pumping your numbers up to say you're doing really well if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
So it's a really shallow talent pool,
Yeah.
particularly in that middle sort of to executive management team area. Yeah. It's about creating meaningful pathways from the graduate level right through to CEO, right? Rather than just stacking folks into the mailroom. Not to say that's what they're doing. But
of course. Well, there is a quota, there is a target. A lot of them need to hit that target because they have to report publicly on their deliverables.
Yeah,
so a lot of them, it's like, we just need to kind of get these numbers in or get this training rolled out.
My question, I love challenging, is always why. They say, well, we want to do a rap. So, well, why do you want to do that? Oh, because it's a good thing. It's like, that's not a very good answer, is it? So, but it's
a journey.
But it is. But you need to understand why you're on it, and you got to bring the people that work for you and with you on that journey. Otherwise, you just putting out publishing a glossy document.
Of course, that may just end up on a shelf and gather dust, and that's what a lot of our mob are so critical and cynical about the RAP program.
Rightly so, I think. Yeah. But I think the challenge is to corporates and NGOs and government and the like is create meaningful pathways. You look across government, like how many band 1s and above or deputy executives and above are blackfellas? Yeah. I can name a couple, but there's, if we're going to be in control of our future, we need to have people that are leaders.
Yeah. Well, do a stock take. Do a stock take on your current staff, the positions, what they're in, and see, is there an opportunity to grow our talent that may have come in as a school-based trainee? Now they're in a full-time permanent position. How about sponsoring an MBA course for them and actually investing in their development and their careers by putting them through an MBA? And that's an option.
Well, I'd love to see that analysis done because I would, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, would be to see that, particularly in government, is it APS 5 and 6 that folks are plateauing at, and if so, why? Yeah. Like that's, So, I think they need to be genuine about what they're doing and why they're doing it. Not to say that everyone's not, but I think it's just a different approach to just numbers for numbers' sake. Yeah, of course. So what do you think the future looks like for Indigenous businesses? Bright. Bright, but I will, cave it. I mean, and I think for my message to corporates and universities and government and the like is there's an emerging middle class of blackfellas coming through, right? It's either whether you support us or you don't, it's a commercial decision. So you should support us, and the way I look at it is you've got to front load your investment and you're going to receive that return on investment in spades. Particularly universities, if you can convert or you can stop the bleeding in that attrition rate of kids going through uni, it's like, think about how much that is in HECS. And what's the answer to that? Well, you go to schools and it's, for me, it's access to capital and capital management. Two simple things. Empower the kids with those two things and they're going to be off and flying, and then that's going to permeate into the community because they're going to be able to tell their friends, oh, this is what happened and this is how I did it, Yeah. But in terms of black business, I'm incredibly hopeful for the future. I think things are going really well. My concern is around that creating intergenerational wealth. So if my business is successful because it's a black business and the value of my contracts and things are predicated on it being a black business and Supply Nation certified, and whether it's through the Indigenous procurement policy, and state and territories have their own different equivalent of it, but how do I sell that business if I want to, after I've worked hard for my whole life to build this thing up? I can only sell it to another blackfella, and then and do they have the capital to then buy that business? But then even if they do, it's like, well, why would I want to buy that if I've got tens of millions of dollars? And you made your problem my problem. Now I'm handcuffed to that business, and then I've got to go and hustle, try to find somewhere. If I'm in the free market, I can buy and sell and do things as whenever I want. So there's a bit of work to do in that space. I don't know what the answer is. But our mob, needs to start thinking about that. Money could be a key driver or a motivation in being in business, right? Having self kind of
I don't know, it is empowerment, right? I feel empowered every day that I'm my own boss. 95% of the staff at Black Card are mob, which is deadly. But also we need to bring in non-Indigenous people also and give them an opportunity to work with us, to learn from us, to support us, and get them to really see why it's important to work together. So collaboration and partnerships are really important, right, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure they are with you as well. What do you think about mob and working with non-Indigenous people? How can we get more Indigenous people to see the value of working with us or within our businesses?
Yeah, well, I think for me it's two-way learning, right? But it's about capacity building and capability building the black businesses, and then similarly the non-Indigenous folks that are contributing to that. They get their own cultural capability uplift, right?
Of course.
But in terms of that capability and capacity on the ground as a black business, like it's important that you learn the skills and you can actually properly walk and then learn to run it in time in both worlds. Because if you can't go through a P&L or a balance sheet or whatever it may be, you're going to struggle. You've
got the potential to either obviously fail with your business or get ripped off.
Well, and the way I explain it is like coming from a corporate restructuring background, you may be the best chef in Melbourne, but you may not be the best business person. They're two different skills, right? So where there's a gap in those skill sets, I think it's incumbent and important on you to go and, have that trusted personal people that you can partner with meaningfully, and it's got to be a genuine partnership because that's how we're going to move the dial on this.
I love when you said it's a two-way thing, man. The kind of word that's coming to me is reciprocity. I give to you, you give to me, and that is it's like a key feature of Aboriginal culture.
Well, so just on that, right? But it's like, but the skills that you get, you can then bring to your community, and whether it be through your prescribed body corporates or your land councils or wherever it may be, you can bring everybody up with you. So whether it's challenging folks at the AGM in a respectful manner, because you've gone through the numbers and said, well, that doesn't look right, can you please talk to that? And they say, oh, well, it's empowering people. And the concept of shame kills me. I think it's garbage. That people won't ask things or put their hand up because of that. So it's all circular.
And they don't want to fight with their mob.
No, some do.
Some don't mind. Look, I'm going to ask you, in terms of wrapping up this deadly yarn, which I'm absolutely loving at the moment, what is your legacy?
For me, I'm not on LinkedIn or anything. I don't really care for a legacy. I don't want a statue or anything like that, I think. But my goal in my life is to enact change for our people at scale. And so if I can push the needle as far as I can in my lifetime to, uplift our people across the country, that's my goal. And I think for me to be able to genuinely do it at scale, I need to be around that table where decisions are being made. So whether that's, in the future, for me, it's got to be a senior role. And for me, there's a really important delineation from being a senior black person in a leadership role versus a senior leader that is Indigenous, or, First Nations, whatever. And I think for me to be able to demonstrate to our people that, like, if you look at my story, like, it's probably not unique to anyone else's. Like, my dad was in prison at a young age. Mum was in the Kempsey Times. She had me on a Wednesday, whenever it was, and then she sat at HSC the very next day. Very strong little woman, But I think for kids and others to look up and say, well, but if he can do it, I can do it too. And then everyone's got fire in their belly and they're all, furious and they're all going to make change. But for me, it's not a legacy. It's just, I don't really care for credit or anything. I think if we can help each other and there's a better future for our kids. I don't have kids, but if I were to have kids, for those kids,
Love it. I was just going to say, do you see yourself on one of those top 100 boards?
100%.
Yeah.
And
have you got you're looking now? No, you got too much going on.
At the moment? I think for me at the moment.
Well, I just think in terms of people that are actually watching or listening to this podcast, you got a black accountants in here on the couch with me. Reach out to him, not on LinkedIn, but they can reach out to you. They can find you. Online, socials, no?
Yeah, no, I'm on socials and things, but no, that's my goal is for next year to get on LinkedIn.
Get on LinkedIn, start building those relationships and see what opportunities present.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's about, it's not coming from a place of being boastful or anything, but just subjectively, I think it is important that we get more black fellows on those boards around the table, making decisions that are about us, because, I love the nothing about us without us thing. But it's a nice thing to say, but our actions and words currently
in practice,
it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, we get in a cultural advisor, and that's how we've managed that thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I want someone that's under the hood that's driving this business.
Yeah, and we embed it. We embed it, the change from the top, and
100%.
Hold people accountable to make sure it's actually happening on the ground.
And you look at the wonderful work Black Card does, right? But like for me, how cool would it be if you were to come into a business and you look around the boardroom or the executive leadership team or whatever, where it may be, and you say, well, 40% of these folks are blackfellas, so they already get it.
Yeah.
But and even blackfellas, everyone's on their own journey culturally as well. So, but I think that's because without that senior leadership buy-in, things don't change in organisations.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Too deadly. I'm going to say this. I was actually pretty disappointed that I had to sit the last block out for Monash, as I am a current student as part of the Moible program, also known as the Masters of Indigenous Business Leadership at Monash. This is actually our polos that we get. So we get to promote the William Cooper Institute, and also the fact that we are in the MBA program. Absolutely love this T-shirt. I, rep this polo as much as I can. So I missed my last block because I had 2 big workshops. You as a guest presenter during that block, so I missed the opportunity to meet you. But I just want to say that having you on this podcast as part of this partnership series with Monash University, I'm so pleased that we've got to meet, and I can't wait to just reach out and keep in touch with you. So thank you so much for coming here to beautiful Melbourne and just being part of this partnership. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And can I just say that the program they run, I did have a chance to have a speak to the students and some of the staff. It's an incredible program. I'd highly recommend anyone that's looking to get into leadership or corporates or government, if you're looking to sponsor a program to, elevate some of your staff and really invest in your staff to do it. I think for me, from what I'm hearing on the ground around the community and things, it's financial literacy, governance and leadership are the 3 things that we're probably need to work on as a mob, and Monash has really taken a leading role in that leadership element at the moment, which is wonderful to see.
And what a way to wrap up this yarn. So I'm going to say thank you very much. And I'm not going to say all the best, because I'm going to literally be checking up on you. Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for jumping on today.
No, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. How deadly was that? I know finances isn't for everyone, but you can tell that Josh absolutely is passionate about finances and financial literacy when it comes to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. I was so excited to finally meet Josh in person. Unfortunately, I was not part of the presentation that Josh delivered as part of the Moible program. However, sitting and yarning with him today, I've got a deeper insight and respect for his profession and some of the challenges. Being one of few Indigenous chartered accountants in the country, there would be a big demand, especially for a black fella with that background to sit on board and to actually know what he's talking about. Very young, he's achieved so much. You'll find a lot more in his bio. We'll have that in the show notes. And just, the fact that he's working at Deloitte, one of the big 4 consulting firms, he has definitely made a name for himself. A very proud Dunghutti man. I'm pretty sure all of his family and community are very proud of what he's been able to achieve. The future definitely looks a lot brighter when we see young people like Josh moving up in the world and, like I said, sitting around those tables on boards and actually running some of those meetings. I have so much respect for people like Josh when they're a minority in their profession. I know some of the challenges firsthand, and I'm pretty sure after listening, you started to resonate with some of the experiences Josh has had with the work that he's been doing. So definitely a name to look out for. So excited to keep bringing you some more deadly yarns as part of the Monash University and Black Magic Woman Partnership Series. Stay tuned. Until next time, bye for now.
This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership Program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/indigenous-business-leadership.
Don't forget to follow Black Magic Woman podcast on all social media platforms. To keep up to date with the latest episodes and news, head to blackmagicwoman.com.au. You can rate and review the podcast on iTunes, and please feel free to share the podcast with your family and friends.